Well, welcome back to part two of our little explorations in the Psalms. We're in Psalm 2. Last week we looked at Psalm 1. And if you joined us for that video, you can see it again on YouTube. We looked at the decision that we all have to make. That the book of Psalms begins with a decision for us all. Which way will we follow? Who will we follow? Which path will we take in life? Will we follow the way of the wicked or the way of the righteous? Now, Psalm 2 picks up on some of those themes, but really expands to give us a big picture, a view of the whole world. And what we see is really that decision about which path will we take projected across a global, a universal picture. So if you've got a Bible with you, do turn up Psalm chapter 2, and I'm going to read that. Why do the nations rage, and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, Let us burst their bonds apart, and cast away their cords from us. He who sits in the heavens laughs. The Lord holds them in derision. Then he will speak to them in his wrath, and terrify them in his fury, saying, As for me, I have set my king on Zion, my holy hill. I will tell of the decree. The Lord said to me, You are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will make the nations your heritage, and the ends of the earth your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron, and dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Now therefore, O kings, be wise. Be warned, O rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and you perish in the way, for his wrath is quickly kindled. Blessed are all who take refuge in him. Well, as we saw last time, we saw that the danger for us was when we follow the counsel of the wicked. And here at the start of Psalm 2, we see the counsel of the wicked. We see nations and kings and rulers plotting against the Lord, plotting against his rule and his reign. Dale Ralph Davis, in the little book we're following, The Way of the Righteous in the Muck of Life, says, the world that hates. That's what he looks at in verse 1 to 3. The world that hates. We see the world plotting against God. But amidst this backdrop of a world following its own way, a world following its own path, there's good news. There's hope. Ralph Davis says there's a throne that consoles, a throne that consoles. The Lord sits in heavens and laughs at the efforts and attempts at power of these kings and rulers. Why? Well, verse 6. As for me, I have set my king on Zion, my holy hill. It's easy to look out at the world and think there's no one really in charge, that the throne is empty. It's easy to put our hope in other things, in progress, in science, in wealth and riches, and think those are the things that really rule this world. Whereas God says no, he has set his king on Zion. The throne is not empty, and that throne gives us hope that God rules and reigns. He then talks about the decree that determines. That's in verses 7 to 9. You see there it says, I will tell of the decree. What is the decree? Well, it's God's decree about his king. And we see who this king is. You are my son. Today I have begotten you. Words which are echoed at Jesus' baptism, as we're reminded that Jesus is indeed God's chosen king. And he will make the nations your heritage. This King Jesus is not a small king with a small throne of a small nation, but king over the whole world. And that is what gives us hope and confidence. But the psalm ends with a call for each of us and a call for the nations to turn from their wicked ways, to turn to the Lord. It says, there's a warning, verse 10. Kings be wise, rulers be warned. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way, for his wrath is quickly kindled. Blessed are all who take refuge in him. That's how Psalm 1 began. Blessed is the man who walks this way. And again we have it here. Blessed are those who take refuge under this throne, who find safety and peace knowing that Jesus is the King, who find their hope and find their purpose in serving him. Kissing the Son, kissing a picture of submission, of obedience. So friends, as we look out at the world, we see a messy place. We see a place where wickedness so often prevails. We see a place where lots of people make a claim to be on the throne. But in Psalm 2, we're given the great hope that God has already put someone on the throne. That King Jesus, even amidst the chaos that we see, is indeed ruling and reigning over all things. And today, that can give us great confidence.